For number 1, they are asking for the system of inequalities from this graph. And so let's begin with the solid line. So for this line, we can see that the y-intercept is positive 1, and the slope, find 2 points, is going to be negative 1 over 1 for the slope. And so negative 1 divided by 1 is equal to negative 1, so it will be y negative 1 x plus 1. And looking at the shading, it is shaded below the line, so it will be less than. And it's a regular line, so it will be equal, so less than or equal. And so looking at the answer choices, the only one with this will be letter D. Number 2 is still asking about the same graph, and it's asking which point is part of the solution set. So what you're looking for is which point is in the shaded area, the area that's colored in, or it is on the border with a regular line. So anything that is along this line here on the border is okay, but here the dotted line, that's not good. Okay, so let's go ahead and try each point and see which point works. So 5, 1. 5, 1 is going to be so far off of here we can't even see it. Negative 1, negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2 is right here, so that one is wrong. 3, 1 is going to be over here, which is still outside the area. And negative 1, positive 1 is right here, so this point is okay. So letter D. For number 3, we know we are multiplying because these two parentheses don't have a plus or minus sign in between. So 5 multiplied with 2 is 10. 5 multiplied with 3i is positive 15i. Negative 7i times 2 is negative 14i. And negative 7i times 3i is negative 21. And I times I is I squared. So whenever we have I squared, that is equal to negative 1. So I'm going to cross this out. So negative 21 multiplied with negative 1 is positive 21. And now we just need to combine the regular parts, 10 plus 21, which is 31, and the imaginary parts. 15 minus 4 is 1i. So looking at the answer choices, that will be letter B. Number 4, I squared. So we know that I is the square root of negative 1. So square root of negative 1 squared would just be equal to negative 1. If we square that, because the squaring will cancel out the square root. And we saw that in the last question, when we have an I squared, we just turn that into a negative 1. For question number 5, we want to find the width of the rectangle. We know the area, we know the length. So you should remember from before that the area of a rectangle is equal to length times the width. So if we want to find the width, we need to divide by the length so that we have width by itself. So width is equal to the area divided by the length. So this is a division problem. And so since we're dividing by this, we're going to set that equal to 0. So x minus 5 is equal to 0. Move that over, it becomes a positive 5. So x equals to positive 5. We put that out here in the box. Set up our synthetic division. 1, 5, negative 29, and negative 105. Draw a line. Bring down the 1. 5 multiplied with 1 is positive 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. 5 multiplied with 10 is positive 50. Negative 29 plus 50 is going to be 21. 5 times 21 is going to be positive 105. So the remainder is 0. And because we began with the x cubed, so our first term is going to be 1x squared. So 1 less than that. So this one will be 10x. This one will be 21. And we have no remainder. But looking at the answer choices, we don't see that answer anywhere. But look at B, C, and D. It looks like we need to continue factoring this. So let's go ahead and factor this. So here we don't have anything in front of the x squared, so we don't have to do anything with that. But this 21, let's break it up. We can try 3 times 7. And we're trying to match this positive 10 here. So the bigger number, 7, needs to be positive. And let's make the 3 positive as well. So positive 3 and positive 7 is equal to positive 10. And when we multiply, positive times positive is equal to positive 21. So that matches. So that means the factors need to be x plus 3 and x plus 7, which matches this answer right here. So for this problem, follow the colors I am using so you can know where everything comes from. 4x squared times x, that will be 4x to the third power. 4x squared times negative 2, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, and we have an x squared. Now we need to distribute this part. 5 times x is 5x, positive 5x, and 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And finally, we need to distribute this negative sign. So be careful, this is just a negative. That's it. It's not connected to the 2 or the 7. So negative times a positive 7 is a negative 7x squared. Negative times positive is a negative 6x. And negative times a negative is a positive. And copy down the 3. So when you look at the orange one, when we distribute a negative, all that happened is that the positive and negative signs inside the parentheses all got flipped. Positive 7 become negative 7, positive 6 become negative 6, and negative 3 becomes positive 3. And now all we need to do is combine like terms. So let's start with the x cubed term. We have 4 and nothing else with x cubed, so that's it. And then x to the second power, we have negative 8 minus 7, which is negative 15, x squared. And then for the x by itself, we have positive 5 minus 6, which is going to be negative 1, x. And for the constants, the regular numbers, we just have negative 10 plus 3, which is negative 7. So looking at the answer choices, the only one that matches would be this one, 4x cubed minus 15x squared minus 1x minus 7. 7, we are dividing this polynomial by x minus 3. So let's set this part equal to 0 first. Now moving the minus 3 to the other side becomes plus 3. So we have x is equal to positive 3. Now let's set up the synthetic division. Here's a 1 in front of the x to the fourth. So 1, 3, negative 15, negative 19, and positive 40. So bring this down. That's a 1. 3 multiplied with 1 is positive 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 times 6 is positive 18. Negative 15 plus 18 is positive 3. 3 times 3 is positive 9. Negative 19 plus 9 is equal to negative 10. Then 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. 40 minus 30 is equal to 10, which is the remainder. But this answer is only asking for what is the quotient. So we don't really need to worry about the remainder. So because we begin with x to the fourth power, let's take 1 away from that, will be x to the third power will be our first term. So we have 1x to the third power plus 6x to the second power going backwards plus 3x to the first power, or just x by itself, minus 10, which would be this answer. For number 8, because I see 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know this is not going to be the factor by cross multiplying, but we need to factor by grouping. So when you have 3 terms, factor by cross multiplying. When you have 4, do it by grouping. Here's the first group, and here is the second group. So from the first group, what we can pull outside is x to the third power. That's the most we can do. And so x to the third power times x gives you x to the fourth power, and the x to the third power times positive 2 gives you 2x to the third power. So if you just look at the green part and you multiply it back, you distribute, you see how we get the green part back. Now for the orange part, we know that the parentheses has to be the same for a factor by grouping to work. And we just need to know x times what gives you negative 8. X times negative 8. And so if we distribute this part back, negative 8 times x is negative 8x, and negative 8 times positive 2 is negative 16. That works as well. So knowing this, we know that our factors can be x to the third minus 8 from here and here times x plus 2. And looking at the answer choices, it might look like it's A, but we have not factored completely because this first factor is a difference of 2 cubes. So whenever you see an x cubed, n cubed, whatever, look for cubes. So if you have two terms and you have a cube, try to factor it further. So let's take the cube root of x to the third. So x times x times x is x to the third. So this will be x, and cube root of 8 is 2 because 2 times 2 is 4 times another 2, that's 8. So I'm going to label this as A, and this is going to be B. So scrolling up our work so we get more room. Going to copy down the formula, the positive and negative signs. So this is a something cubed minus something else. So this is going to be a minus, this will be a plus, and this will be a plus. A is x, b is 2, a squared will be x squared, ab will be x times 2, which will be 2x, and the b squared will be 2 times 2, which is 4. Then this x plus 2 over there, let's copy it down. Now looking at the answer choices, the only one with all three of these parentheses, all three of these factors, is going to be letter C right here.